Hi everyone, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It is the final week before school gets out for a few weeks for the holiday break. It's Coach's Corner, and today we're going to talk Ponca City Wrestling with Chris Walker, the wrestling team. To say they're busy is an understatement. Completed your second tournament in the month of December recently as you went to Kansas City, and I'd like to review that and kind of review what's happened so far. But this past weekend, probably as tough a tournament as there is in the Midwest. You guys took it head on this weekend in Kansas City. How'd things go, Chris?
You're absolutely right. Kansas City is the toughest tournament in the Midwest, and across the nation. It was ranked as one of the top 7 tournaments in the country. So, it went well for us. We go there with the goal to get a lot of matches and to get a lot of experience, and that's what we did. And we had several boys go and compete and do well in the tournament. We had a couple boys that actually placed in the top 8. That's Brandon Hunt and Nick Hamilton. Both those guys took 6th, and comparable to other teams that went there from Oklahoma. I think Edmond North had 5 placers, and Collinsville had, I think, somewhere around there. So, we wasn't too far off of par. So I think we did well.
Well, you take some of the best teams from Iowa, from Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and you put them all together. And, we've talked about tough tournaments before, but I always thought Reno was tough. I think this is getting pretty close to Reno, Coach.
I think this year, I think it surpassed Reno this year. Myself, watching the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals matches, I felt like this was some of the best high school wrestling I've watched in many years. I think they had something like almost 200 state placers there. I think they had close to 60 or 70 state champions. Multiple national champions were there, and it was some of the best high school wrestling I've ever seen.
A tournament like that has got to be humbling, because you got a lot of kids that have never lost or have lost very few times, and I guess maybe it's a good come back to earth type of tournament for a lot of coaches too.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely that, even when we had some of the best teams in Oklahoma, we'd always go to this tournament and sometimes get humbled. Some of our kids would, and this year's no exception. I watched in the finals, there's one of the top recruits in the country. He's going for his 4th state title out of Iowa. He got pinned in the second period. He didn't get caught. He just got manhandled to his back. And so when you got a 4-timer getting pinned, I think that speaks for the type of class that's up there.
Well, we know how good Brandon Hunt hit. He's one of the best kids in the state of Oklahoma, regardless of class. And for him to place 6th, he probably felt like, he won a championship. If you place in the top 8 in that tournament, probably after the season's over, we're going to see a lot of those kids' names at the top of a podium in some state somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about Brandon Hunt, he was a state runner-up 2 years ago for us. Last year he was one of the top ranked kids in the state of Oklahoma. And this year for him to go out there and place in the top 6, that is exceptional, because, the kid that beat him in the quarterfinals was the number 3 kid in the country, and we got caught once, was the difference of the match. But and then Brandon ended up getting sick the last day. But definitely when you got a kid like Brandon taking 6th and feeling good about it, that's a tough tournament.
I want to talk about Nick Hamilton. Have you ever seen, and I'm sure you have, too general of a question, but here's a kid who a couple of years ago didn't know a whole lot about wrestling, and he really came on last year, and this year for him to go up there and to place in the top 8, I would say that he, in your coaching experience, has come probably along as quickly and as far as maybe any guy you've ever had.
Without a doubt. In the 2 years that we've had Nick, his progression is just it's pretty outstanding. For him to go from never wrestling to his second year of wrestling to place in one of the toughest tournaments in the United States, that just says what kind of an athlete he is. We saw it on the football field where his athleticism, shine there on the football field, and we're seeing it again on the wrestling match. He's just one of those pure athletes that has got great balance, great speed, great strength, and he's a smart kid. And so, when you get all of those things, in one package, you can do some special things with him. I'd say probably the only other kid that would be comparable to him is Justin Rowland. He started wrestling his freshman year, and then by the time he was a senior, he was a state champion. So.
And they both have something in common. They are terrific athletes.
Oh, without a doubt, terrific athletes, and they were two-sport athletes, and did well in both those sports.
You go to a tournament like this, and you've got some guys that you expect to finish well. You've got some young guys that are just figuring it out and getting into it, and you throw them into that type of competition, no matter what their records. And we will say that you go to that type of tournament because the guys will all wrestle 5, 6, 7 matches. When you come back home, do you take all that in consideration when you sit down and you talk to guys who may have won one match or none or two? Do you sit down and try to explain to them that, that may be not what they're going to see on a nightly basis when they wrestle in the state of Oklahoma?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, working with the kids through this tournament, it's kind of a double-edged sword because you can go and you can get tons of matches, but you can also go and get beat a bunch, and sometimes that devastates them mentally, and so we've got to do a real good job as a coaching staff to get them to buy into the concept that it's just about mat time, and it's just about keeping their feet on the mat and learning from the experience. That's the main thing that we want to get from that, and you're absolutely right. When we talk to them about the record when they leave there, it's about the benefits of it instead of the negatives.
And you don't have to be any real smart guy to know that these guys are getting better. You look at Sapulpa last week. You look at the experience they got from this tournament. You give them a couple of weeks to kind of taper down a little bit, but keep them hungry, and then you come into the second part of your schedule after Christmas. I bet you're pretty excited about the prospects of what's going to happen this year.
Yeah, we've got a team that's led by a bunch of seniors that, they've been taking their lumps the last couple of years, and I think they're hungry to go out and compete well. The first half of the season we've had some success, but that's not to say we don't run up against a team that we get surprised by or we surprise them again. The Sapulpa outcome. I did not see that coming, but that's a testament to the kids that we've got in the room. They work exceptionally hard. They want to win. They want to represent Ponca City well, and they did. I tell you, I was talking to my coaches the other day. For me, with these kids, it's about experiencing the moment and enjoying every single win or loss. Just enjoying the moment when it happens. And so, the other day when we won Sapulpa, against Sapulpa, we really took some time to reflect on it and enjoy it because we have a tough lineup. We wrestled the best in Oklahoma, and the outcome may not be the same next time.
Well, you go to BA, you wrestle Sapulpa, you have the Perry tournament. I mean, one thing we'll say, these guys are going to be ready for end of the season competition. If nothing else, you're going to have them prepared, aren't you, Chris?
Yeah, when we sit down and we do the schedule, it'd be easy for us to look and schedule teams that we can beat. I mean, that's I've said it before, that'd be easy for my ego, but it wouldn't be what was right for the boys. The two tournaments that are the most important for us are regionals and state, and for our boys to be competitive in that environment, they've got to see that caliber of kids throughout their season. That's another reason we go to Kansas City, so that when we go to the state tournament, it's not such a stage fright deal for the boys. They've been to a situation, they've been in those scenarios, and so when we look at our schedule, that's why we face Broken Arrow, that's why we face Sapulpa, that's why we face the toughest teams in the state, and we don't shy away from that. It's tough, especially when we're rebuilding, which we are. But that's what the team needs, and so that's what we're going to give them.
You can rebuild and still win, though. I mean, people think rebuilding, oh, well, we're not going to do anything this year, we're pushing it back. That's not the case at all. You're a good example of you can rebuild, but you can still be successful and win at the same time. And that's a fine line. There's a mix there where you You bring in your opponents. You have a good mix of kids that have wrestled, some new kids coming in. Rebuilding doesn't mean we're pushing things back a year or two. It just means we may not have as much experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think the last couple of years and this year, you know, you can definitely win with when you are rebuilding, and you know, it's a little tougher when you don't have a full lineup of kids that have 10, 12 years of wrestling experience, but it's still possible. You know, we still train the same as when we were one of the top teams in the state, and so, you know, the expectation is still the same. You know, regardless if we got 2 kids in a room or 100 kids, you know, we expect our kids to go out and compete and represent Ponca City well.
You have another young man that we didn't talk about, but I do want to mention that Bridges, one of your upper weights, would have probably been one of the guys that you expected to finish well in Kansas City, and Jakota got an injury which kept him from wrestling. We kind of smile about it, but he got a tooth almost knocked out, and when you're 18 years old, you don't want to have a tooth knocked out, so that's the reason why he didn't really finish. He didn't wrestle very much this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jakota would have been one of those kids that would have placed in the top 8. He's having an exceptional senior year. He made the decision to cut down to 220, and I think it's paying off for him. But you know, he was talking about smiling. That tournament, there's 13, 14 mats, and so all of us coaches, I mean, we can't coach every single kid. We're so spread out. I happen to be coaching another kid, and next thing you know, I get a tap on the shoulder, and I turn around. Jakota's leaning over me, blood all in his mouth, and his tooth was hanging out. I mean, I saw the root of his tooth, and you know, he was so proud that he finished the match, and he had the mental toughness to battle through that. And you know, if you know, we really want to encourage our kids to be mentally tough and to battle through things that they can that, you know, will not cause them any bodily harm. But you know, he was proud that he overcame that obstacle, and you're right, he got his tooth knocked out. He wanted to wrestle, but you know, we made the decision as a coaching staff that we wanted to give him the best chance he had at saving his tooth. Went to the emergency room that night, and they shoved it back up in and said he could wrestle, but we didn't want him wrestling until he got a brace on it, which he does now.
And we might mention that the match that he got the tooth knocked out, he pinned the guy and then came over to you. So not only did he get the tooth knocked out, he pinned that guy, and so what the conversation goes something like, "Coach, I won, but here's my tooth." So.
Yeah, he said, he tapped on my shoulder, and I turned around and looked at him, and he said, "Look at my tooth." And I looked, and he said, "But I still pinned him. Are you proud of me?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm proud of you." And you know, that I think that's testament. I really want to spend some time talking about the character of this team. In all the years I've been in Ponca City, I mean, we've had good kids, but this group of kids, they just are a good bunch of kids. You know, we don't have to worry about eligibility issues. You know, we was up in a motel this weekend. We told them lights out at a certain time, the lights were out. And they're just a good bunch of kids, and they want to fight hard for each other, and they want to fight hard for the coaching staff. And, you know, whether we win another dual meet or not, it's been a special season for that reason alone. A lot of times when you deal with wrestlers, sometimes you get some different characters, and the character we've got on this team, it's been special.
I know that we're both going to encourage fans to come out and show their support for your team. You haven't had many home matches so far. The schedule has them on the road most of the early part of December. But we do have a home match coming up this week on Thursday. And I know that fans can show their appreciation mostly by just being there to show the support for the guys, because there's not a whole lot of home matches this year.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be back at home this Thursday against Enid. And Enid's an improved team. So all the help we can get, you know, is much appreciated. And those boys feed off that. You know, they wrestle hard and they train hard, and one of the rewards is getting to represent their team in front of a home crowd.
Absolutely, and I know that while a lot of teams may take a little time off the holidays, over the break you actually have a match scheduled with Muskogee right before the New Year's as well.
Yeah, we with Muskogee, I mean, they are every year they're a tough team, and you know, when you get to looking at schedules, their wrestling schedule and ours, and then the basketball schedules. Sometimes it's hard to find an open slot, and that's a team that we want to wrestle because of the quality they bring to the mat every year. And so It's not ideal to wrestle throughout the break, but you know, it's we need to wrestle the best, and they're one of the best, and so we're going to find time to do that.
Absolutely. Now, what does Kevin Walker want for Christmas this year, Coach?
Oh.
When Santa Claus comes, does he have to have a big bag on his shoulder?
Yeah, he probably train set. He calls them woo-woo trucks, either a police or a fire truck. That's what he loves.
It's fun to be a parent this time of year, isn't it? With how old is Kevin now?
He's almost 4.
Almost
this
4,
June he'll be
wow.
4. It's pretty outstanding, and I'm starting to understand now some of the situations that the parents have been in now that I have a kid, and I understand that relationship a little bit more.
To you, Michelle, and Kevin, have a great holiday, and good luck, and we hope to see everybody out Thursday night. Coach.
Thank you.
Chris Walker, our wrestling coach. Support the Wildcat Wrestlers Thursday night against Enid at the Robson Fieldhouse. That's this week's Coach's Corner.